Hello, dear friends. Today is September 1st, 2025, and this is the traditional review of the battlefield map. As of today, the main changes are taking place on the South Donetsk axis and the Pokrovsk axis. There are also some minor developments on the Constantinovka axis. In addition, there is news from the Kupiansk and Sumy directions, which we will discuss and examine in this video. But before we begin, as usual, I would like to ask you to subscribe to the channel. Your subscription greatly helps the channel's development. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. Let's start with the Oricov axis, since there are no significant updates today from the Kherson axis. On the Oricov axis, Russian forces are trying to advance in the area of the settlement of Plavny, moving gradually northward, but so far they have been unable to secure positions. Assault groups are attempting to break through Ukrainian defenses in this sector, but the Ukrainian armed forces are still holding back the Russian advance. I should also remind you that a massive number of Ukrainian FPV drone units are operating here. Despite the fact that the Russian side is also using a large number of FPV drones, Russian troops have not been able to advance here for now. However, they continue to attempt to push north of Plavny and secure positions around the settlement of Stepnogorsk. It is also reported that Russian troops are subjected daily to FPV drone attacks by the Ukrainian side in the area of Stepov. As for Mala Tokmachka, positional fighting continues there, primarily involving FPV drones. Neither the Ukrainian side nor the Russian side has achieved any significant advances. At this part of the front line, the situation has effectively been put on pause, but the fighting itself has not stopped for a moment. Moving on to the next changes. On the South Donetsk axis, there are developments in favor of the Russian army. As you know, Russian troops have taken control of the area south of Temirovka. It is also reported that Russian forces are straightening the front line between Temirovka and the settlement of Olgovskoye. This is part of the clearing of territory, and reports indicate that this pocket has already been partially brought under Russian control. Regarding changes in this sector, as you know, Kamyshevaha has completely come under Russian control, and there were reports that Russian forces are clearing the pocket between Kamyshevaha and Malivka. Today, new information came from this section of the front. The entire area marked in red has passed under Russian control. Here, the advance amounted to up to 3 kilometers, and as you can see, Russian troops are moving along Ukrainian defensive structures. These fortifications were likely built to prevent Russian forces from advancing from the direction of Berezovoye and Ternovoye. However, Russian troops have repeatedly been observed entering these fortification lines from the flanks and gradually clearing the trenches and fortifications. For now, this is the main news here. Despite the Russian advance of 3 kilometers, reports indicate that Ukrainian forces are attempting counterattacks in an effort to stabilize the front line. Everything points to this section of the battlefield being fully cleared this week. It is even possible that, by the time of this video's release, the pocket between Malivka and Kamyshevaha has already been completely cleared. Next, we move to the settlement of Zeleni. Today, footage arrived from this area showing Ukrainian positions that were attacked by Russian forces. This allows us to conclude that Ukrainian forces entered the center of Zeleni. Ukrainian sources, as well as some pro-Russian sources, report that Ukrainian troops advanced about 1 kilometer into the center of Zeleni. This means the entire area marked in yellow has been fully cleared and taken under Ukrainian control. Earlier, Russian troops had taken Zeleni, even launching attacks toward Ivanovka and entering the settlement of Andreevka-Klevtsovo. Now, however, these territories are once again under Ukrainian control. That's the update here for today. Moving further across the map, let's go to the settlement of Kotliarovka. Here, the map has been adjusted in favor of Russian forces. Today, new footage arrived showing Russian troops being attacked by Ukrainian FPV drones in this area. This suggests that Russian forces have expanded their control zone. According to Russian sources, the advance here amounted to up to 500 meters, with Russian forces gradually clearing this territory, which is part of Donetsk Oblast, the Donetsk People's Republic. This area is still contested, but Russian forces are actively working to secure it. Continuing further, from Udaknoye, reports keep coming in, actually for over a week now, that the settlement has come under Russian control. Today's updates are no exception, again stating that Udaknoye is fully cleared, though no confirming evidence has been provided. Most likely, this information is ahead of events. The same applies to Kotlinu, where it is reported that most of the settlement is under Russian control. But as usual, no visual confirmation has been released. So for now, no confirmed changes, though such reports continue. Now let's move on to the Pokrovsk axis. Reports indicate that Ukrainian forces have launched counterattacks in the area of Novukrayinka, targeting Russian positions. Some sources, including pro-Russian ones, claim that the southern part of Pokrovsk is almost under Russian control. As soon as we see video evidence, such as a flag being raised or clear control of a particular area, we will update the map. For now, Russian control is marked like this, since Russian positions were confirmed in this area a week ago. A week later, it is possible that Russian troops have managed to advance. As you know, earlier we reported on heavy fighting around the high-rise buildings here. At the moment, it is unclear whether Russian forces have advanced or not. If you have information from reliable sources, please share it in the comments, and I will check and make updates to the map. So far, no major changes are confirmed here. It is possible that by the time of this video's release, there are updates, and if so, we will cover them tomorrow. Moving on. As you know, earlier there were claims that Vladimirovka had come under Russian control, but those reports were premature. Many comments stated that Vladimirovka was under full Russian control, but no evidence has been provided, and it's already been about a week since those first claims. Still no videos. However, there is footage from this area showing Russian forces advancing towards Sophievka. The advance here amounted to about 1.5 kilometers, with the entire area marked in red fully cleared and taken under Russian control. We can see Russian forces moving in the direction of Sophievka in order to cut supply routes and eventually encircle Ukrainian troops in Shakovo and Vladimirovka. That's the update for this sector today. Next, let's move to the settlement of Rusin Yar. Today, footage arrived from this location. Yesterday, we discussed reports that Rusin Yar had fully come under Russian control and that fighting continued on the northern outskirts. Now, video from this area confirms an advance of about 2 kilometers, with all the territory marked in red taken under Russian control. As for the pocket between Poltavka and Rusin Yar, its status remains unclear, but it appears that Ukrainian forces still control it. Most likely, Ukrainian troops will withdraw from this area in the coming days to avoid encirclement from Rusin Yar. Now, let's move to the Constantinovka axis. Today, no major changes are reported here. As we said yesterday, there are claims that Russian forces are clearing Shcherbinovka and that Klebanbek has come under Russian control, but so far no confirming evidence has emerged. There is, however, footage from this area showing Russian forces destroying a Ukrainian armored vehicle, which was captured on video. Naturally, we cannot attach such recordings here since YouTube would block the video. That's why I am presenting this information as news. And let's move on. We now shift to the Seusk axis. Here, positional battles are ongoing. The Ukrainian side reports that it repelled several Russian attacks toward the settlement of Seusk. However, no significant changes have been recorded here either. There are updates on the Krani Lyman axis. A few days ago, changes occurred in this sector, with reports that Russian forces were expanding their zone of control. Today, confirming footage arrived from this area. All the territory marked in red has come under Russian control and has been fully cleared. This shows that Russian troops are advancing into the center of the settlement of Zareknoye. Earlier, we assumed that Russian forces would move in from the south and the north, attempting to take the area under physical control, which would force Ukrainian troops to withdraw from the settlement to avoid encirclement along the country roads. However, at this stage, Russian forces are advancing through the central part, moving further on the map. According to some reports, Chandrigolovo has fully come under Russian control. If this is confirmed, then in the next 1 to 2 days, we will likely receive footage of Russian flags being raised there, and the map will be updated accordingly. For now, no confirmed visual evidence has appeared. As a reminder, the territory marked in red was taken by Russian forces just a few days ago. Yesterday, this sector also shifted under Russian control. We can see Russian forces moving toward the settlement of Derilovo in order to reach the supply route and bring it under control. Meanwhile, there are already reports that Chandrigolovo is under Russian control. I also remind you that earlier the Russian Ministry of Defense announced that Zeleni had come under Russian control, but no confirming evidence has appeared from that area either. Now let's move to the settlement of Red Kodub. As you know, yesterday we reported that Ukrainian forces had taken all the territory marked in yellow under their control. The advance there was up to 800 meters. Today, new footage arrived from this location, showing Ukrainian forward positions. The advance here amounted to another 400 meters. Thus, we can see that Ukrainian forces are advancing step by step in this settlement, gradually taking control. Earlier, Novomykhailovka came under Ukrainian control, though now it is considered a grey zone. As for Red Kodub, Ukrainian troops are on the offensive here, achieving gains. It is possible that Russian forces pulled back somewhat, either due to supply difficulties or because reserves were redirected to other sectors. For now, the advance of Ukrainian troops in this area has been recorded, and the entire territory marked in yellow has shifted under their control. Moving further along the map, the situation on the Kupiansk axis remains highly contested. As you know, earlier this area marked in yellow was noted as being under Ukrainian control. However, many pro-Russian sources dispute this, reporting that Ukrainian troops attempted attacks here but failed, with their grouping largely destroyed, some units retreating. According to those claims, the area is under Russian control, though no confirming materials have been provided. If this is indeed true, then in the coming days we should receive footage or other evidence, after which the map will be updated. For now, no changes are confirmed here. No updates have been recorded within Kupiansk itself either. Earlier, Russian forces had taken the surrounding areas under their control. Fighting also took place on the northern outskirts of Kupiansk, where Russian troops reportedly advanced up to 1.5 kilometers. However, a great deal of contradictory information is emerging from both Russian and Ukrainian sources. The Ukrainian side claims to have stabilized the front line here and pushed Russians back from the northern outskirts of Kupiansk. Pro-Russian sources, on the other hand, claim that Kupiansk is nearly taken. The true situation should become clear in the coming days. For now, we continue monitoring developments on the map. In the Volchansk area, positional fighting continues. Russian aviation carried out FAB strikes at temporary deployment sites. FAB 500s hit this location, and another strike was reported here. There are also reports of strikes on Ukrainian UAV command points, though their exact locations have not been confirmed. Pro-Russian sources nevertheless claim such strikes took place. The only video evidence so far comes from these 2 points in this sector. Positional fighting continues along the entire line of contact. The same applies to the Lipsy axis. Positional clashes are ongoing here. Ukrainian forces are attacking Russian positions around Glubokoye and Lukiantsy, while Russian troops are striking Ukrainian positions near the settlement of Lipsy. Pro-Russian sources also report FAB strikes against Ukrainian positions in this direction. Now we move on to the Sumy axis. Here, it feels as if the front line has been paused, with no recorded changes for over a week. Pro-Russian sources report heavy fighting near Unikovka and Sadki. From the Ukrainian side, there are reports of attacks on Russian positions near Alexeyevka. Positional clashes are also ongoing near the settlement of Beselovka, while Russian positions near Tyotkino are under attack. And that concludes today's updates. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you next time.